What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of Simply Nerdy. I am your host, Austin, and I am joined by Anthony today to review the entire discography of Dream Theater, the progressive metal band that I've been familiar with for the good part of 20 years or so. Anthony's relatively new to it.
I've been a fan for the better part of a year and a half, maybe.
There you go. We're just a couple of nerds who like to talk and share our opinion of music, particularly the bands that we enjoy. And so do not think that we are professional critics or professional musicians. So that being said, we are going to have some hot takes. But I feel like that's par for the course when it comes to Dream Theater fans. I feel like their tastes are just all over the spectrum.
It could be said it's just as varied as the styles of their discography. So
yeah, exactly. And I mean, not only the preference of fans, but also the musical variance, the difference in Dream Theater members. They have a vast discography, spanning 30 years of different music. So some fans are going to be extremely critical of some things, and other fans are going to feel like they're complete diehard fans, and that's great. There's bound to be something that not everyone is going to like. Case in point, the very first album that Dream Theater did. For me, not one of my favorites, but we're going to go through each and every album and rank them on a tier list here. We've got from S to F. Now, keep in mind, we've done this for our other videos, but F does not mean it's a bad album. The way that we rank things for our discography reviews is our favorites to our least favorite, but still good, right? Or not.
It's all relative. Basically, an S tier versus an F tier is only encapsulated within the discography of Dream Theater, but an F might still be, what you might call an A tier song. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. There are certainly albums that we may not enjoy at all, and that may be the case. We'll definitely voice our opinions there. But let's get When Dream and Day Unite out of the way.
And we're also, just for the fun of it, going to throw out ridiculous little acronyms for each one. So this is Wadadu.
What I do? What did I do? That's what they're all going to be. That's what I'm going to be saying after all the fans come to crucify me for rating this one so low. So for me, lyrically, this album was okay. I'm not a fan of Charles Dominici's vocals. They weren't my favorite. Some of the songs, though, had some interesting lyrical themes. But I will say that I really did appreciate I don't know if you've had a chance to hear this, Anthony, but there's a When Dream and Day Reunite special album thing that James LeBrie actually sang all of the songs.
No, I didn't know that.
And I listened to that and I was like, that would knock it up a whole nother tier for me personally. But I don't even know if it's worth going through this one song by song or not. Does anything in particular stand out to you with this album?
No, I'd say it's pretty just standard middle of the road. I remember the last time I listened to it, and I'll have to give you all context that, again, this discography is literally as old as I am. So I haven't really had the time to study it to the point where I can be very much of a scholar on it. So it also takes me a while to get through. And so it's been a minute since I listened to Wadadu last. But I remembered being like, oh, it's fine. It's, I also prefer James LeBrie's vocals. I feel like I actually said to Austin one time, do you feel like Dream Theater could be Dream Theater without James LeBrie? And I guess that's that's a discussion for another time. I think that they probably could, but since he's been basically the voice of the band for the past better part of 30 years, it would be very weird. Yeah. So anyway,
I'd have to agree, and that's I'll leave it at that. I definitely think they could find somebody to take the reins, as it were, if needed, but without James, it would just feel so different.
Well, and he has a very signature vocal style. You as long as you've listened to enough of his music, you can pick him out of just about any lineup. You're just like, oh, Oh, yep, that's James Labrie for sure.
Yeah. Yep. So just a quick side note, that actually happened to me when listening to Symphony North, which is a Christmas band mixed with a bunch of different artists. James Labrie was featured on that and sang a song, and I was like, I think this is James. It was so cool.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and rank this one, shall we?
Yeah, I think you might have a stronger opinion than me. I'm probably hovering like around C or D. I didn't hate it, and I didn't love it. So
I would almost want to put it at a D or F.
Okay.
And I know that's really strongly opinionated. Again, it's not because it's bad, and there are a handful of songs that I actually like and I would go back to and listen. But compared to everything else, like I just feel like it's just got to be one of the weakest albums for me.
So, and like we've done in the past ones, for those of you who are joining us, watching right now, we sometimes will rearrange based on what, if we realize, actually, you know what, that's not fair when you consider this album, which was actually way worse or, way better or whatever.
Yep.
So there's
some of that going on
around. Yes.
Yep.
I'm perfectly, basically it was milquetoast enough to me that I could put it in F and not cry. There you go.
Yep. There you go. So the next album is Images and Words. This one is like top notch. This is the epitome of peak Dream Theater. Nearly every song I have on here rated with 5 stars. Almost every single song. Pull Me Under, I know, is a classic for, it's a favorite for a lot of fans. It's not my top favorite. That's one of the ones that wasn't rated 5 stars. I know that's bound to disappoint nearly every Dream Theater fan.
They're gonna pull you under.
Why? They're gonna pull me under. Yes. So here's the thing, though. It has great riffs. It has a good chorus. It's catchy. I did not like the sudden ending in Pull Me Under. It just cuts out. And there's other things about it too that just I feel like it's one of the weaker songs. But some of the others, the standout ones for me are like Take the Time, Surrounded, Another Day with a really cool saxophone solo, Learning to Live. Like I had to, when I re-listened to this album, I forgot how awesome this Learning to Live song is. Wait for Sleep is also great. And of course, who can forget Metropolis Part 1, The Miracle and the Sleeper? That was the inspiration, the stepping stone for Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory.
Yeah, no, honestly, this is another one of those where I'm not really going to argue with you. The way I remember it, and again, since it's near the beginning of the discography, it's been a minute, but the other day when I was riding in the car with you, we were listening to one of the songs, and I was like, oh my gosh, these themes are just instantly amazing. Like it's like, oh, yep, Images and Words. Yeah, this is great stuff.
Yeah, one of the ones that really stuck out to me that I'm thinking about right now is in Surrounded, where it says like night, light to dark, dark to light, light to dark, or whatever. Like I just thought that was really cool.
In the end, he only sees the change, light to dark, dark to light, light to dark, dark to light.
And Under a Glass Moon, I know, is another really popular one. That one was actually rated 4 stars for me as well.
You sure you're not just a contrarian?
I don't think so. I just like what I like, man. But I was worried that people might think that for Pull Me Under. Like, I was worried that, a lot of people think it's probably the hip thing to do to just be against Pull Me Under, because it was Pull Me Under was such a pivotal song for Dream Theater. It was what pushed them into the limelight. And got them kind of that mainstream appeal. And so I feel like Images and Words as a whole has just been a genre-defining album for them. But I just feel like there are certainly way better songs in the album than Pull Me Under. So that's just my personal opinion.
Yes.
But everyone's entitled to their wrong opinions.
Including Latin.
So... yeah, I'm just gonna unabashedly throw this one up top, and if we want to rearrange it later, we can.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so next is Awake. Tell us about your thoughts on Awake.
Oh heavens! Well, what I was about to do was actually go and remind myself what is on there. So see,
Oh.
I did warn you all in advance that this is going to be a little bit embarrassing for me.
So first song is 6 o'clock.
Oh gosh. Okay, yeah, I remember now. I don't like that very much.
Yeah.
6
Okay.
o'clock on a Christmas morning. 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning. No, thank you.
Yeah, that it was so repetitive, and it wasn't just the 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning. I think I had this conversation with you the other day. It was the thing at the very end where it's like, I know all about the honor of God, Mary Jane. I know all about the honor of. This is like very repetitive, very. It's kind of catchy, but it's not catchy in a way that really entices me to listen to it. I don't know. I know that's probably another one that's going to get me some flack, but I think 6 o'clock is another one that fans just have really loved.
Well, I'm unabashedly going to dislike it, and you can light me up in the comments if you like.
There you go. I like a lot of the others. So there are some songs in here that I absolutely love, and there are songs in here that I just do not care for.
Break it down.
So I don't know. For me, I really like the Mind Beside Itself suite, which is a reference to Erotomania, the Voices, the Silent Man. I think in The Mirror, was it in The Mirror that it plays like a little bit of the Space Divest theme? I think that's what it is. That's really all it has going for it. Same with Lie. They're not my favorite songs. Lifting Shadows Off a Dream, I really like that one. Space Divest is another one of my favorites on that one. So
You remember that one being really fun.
Space Divest,
Yeah.
very interesting. And it again, this is a very mid album for me. I had it on my list as like a C,
It's about where I'd put
a
it.
D. Yeah. So it can fluctuate between there, I think. So I'm just gonna we'll put it at C for now, but if we end up having to shift it down due to other albums being up there,
You put it at 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning.
6 o'clock. Wow. Nice. So after Awake, this is the moment where James Labrie suffered an incredible accident with food poisoning that affected his voice pretty badly, at least live. But the next album is Falling Into Infinity. But I feel like he actually did real well, all things considered. Even since then, like after Falling Into Infinity, he did things from a memory, and so you almost can't even tell, or if it did affect it, and maybe it affected him in a way that I like, that I don't mind.
Yep. Yeah, no, I remember commenting to you the first time I got there, and you kind of told me the history that it didn't seem like there was a huge difference. Like maybe a little bit more strain to his voice, but otherwise the vocal quality seemed pretty comparable.
Now that you say that, when I went back and listened to Awake, I'm taking a step back and talking about Awake again for a second. I remember it being very grungy. The whole album just had a much harsher sound from James, and I thought it was due to that whole accident thing, but then I had to remind myself that this happened after Awake, his whole food poisoning incident, and so that's not what it was. It was just, I guess, a choice, that they made for that style. Wasn't my favorite in Awake, but then for Falling Into Infinity, you get into some really good songs. I mean, you've got New Millennium, Peruvian Skies, Hollow Years, one of my favorite songs, especially the Budokan, Live at Budokan version. Hell's Kitchen, I actually really like that instrumental. Lines in the Sand, Take Away My Pain, those are all really good. Anna Lee, that one I just saw on here, that one was so different for Dream Theater. Like, I like this one. It's a good song. It just felt almost out of place with the album. I don't know if you recall it, but it just has very classic pop rock vibes, like almost Billy Joel meets Elton John meets, I don't know, like Bryan Adams. I could imagine singing the song for anyone that's familiar, with what's that song that everyone knows that he does? It's true. Everything I do it for you. Like, I just imagine when I hear the chorus, Bryan Adams singing this song. And it's really good. It's got a real good chord progression and everything, but just felt very unlike Dream Theater. I don't know.
Well, and in some ways, I think that's one of the things that I like most about Dream Theater, especially some of their later albums, is the ways that they kind of start experimenting with different styles. And so for me, that type of thing is actually a really big plus. So yeah, no, and I remember actually liking quite a few of the songs in this album. I think Peruvian Skies and Hollow Years. I think that one was another big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lines in the Sand. And then I feel like I remember the Trial of Tears also being a really fun one.
Yes, that's a fun little epic. I really did like that one too. A lot of good songs. Just Let Me Breathe. I remember listening to that one again, and it surprised me. I for some reason I have it rated as a 4. I liked the theme of it though. The whole topic is about dealing with the pressure to make a more mainstream album. And then there's of course a Bohemian Rhapsody reference in there for people that like those little Easter eggs, little nuggets that they throw in there.
So what would you say? How would you rank it?
I would have to say an A or a B. Probably a B right now, just because there's other albums that I would probably choose over this one.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning toward a B, like a high B, perhaps.
Yeah. Let's keep it at B for now. Falling into Infinity. Another little tidbit about Just Let Me Breathe. I mentioned that it had to do with the pressure of making a more mainstream album. I'm looking at my notes at one of the lines that it has in here. Close your mind, find all you need in your eyes, which is a reversal of what's saying in Take the Time. Close your eyes, you can find all you need in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
But in this song, he says, close your mind, you can find all you need in your eyes. And that's when he does the Bohemian Rhapsody bit.
Just close your mind, you can find all you need with your eyes.
Almost like, so you think you can stone me and spit in my eye. That's a musical reference to Bohemian Rhapsody there.
That's cool. I'll have to go back and listen.
So again, it has to deal with that whole mainstream media thing, which I think is perfect because then the next song is Anna Lee, which is more of that classic pop rock style. Anyway, that's great. Falling into Infinity. The next one, Scenes from a Memory.
So we all know that this one is going to be F tier for Austin.
Oh, how dare you spread such
Don't drop it. Don't
falsehoods.
drop it there.
So this one, my heart wants to say, because of the nostalgia, I want it to be the top, like the tippity top, even above Images and Words. There are some things that I do and don't like about Scenes from Memory, which we'll get into.
Home.
Yes. Yeah. So here's
That
the thing.
one part.
So here's the thing, though, everybody. I should preface this. I love Home. Home is a great song with the intro. It has a great style with that like Indian vibe. It's just that unnecessary scene, that they had to throw in there. Couldn't they have like hinted at it in a more
Less obvious way, maybe?
yeah, I was gonna say a more tasteful way.
Tasteful. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It was funny. The first time I listened through to this album, I was thoroughly enjoying myself. One of the things I will say that plays a big role for me. So if I can associate a narrative to music, it instantly gets elevated. That's just how my mind works. If I can imagine, the music going to, some sort of scene that I can imagine at the same time, it's fantastic. So anyway, this album musically and just in terms of its narrative, I was having a lot of fun with. But going into it, Austin was like, just be careful. There's something weird in Home. I'll let you discover it. And I was like, okay. So I'm listening. I'm like, man, this song's great. What is he talking? Oh, whoa. Okay, I found that part, Austin.
Yeah. So I don't know. Scenes from a Memory. This was a time when so Kevin Moore was the previous keyboardist, and he did some awesome work in all those previous albums, Falling into Infinity, Awake, and we got the GOAT, in my opinion, the wizard himself, Jordan Rudess. For me, this is the album that started it all for me. I was introduced to the band by my driving instructor. Like I still remember listening to Overture 1928 in his car and just thinking about how this is the greatest music I've ever heard, with all of the virtuosic guitar solos, the crazy drums, the time signature changes. It was life-changing for me. And so that's why this one for me is an easy S tier album.
Yeah. This is one where I actually do have a pretty strong opinion, and I would agree. In addition to just, the really fun, like, storytelling that it does, my personal favorite, probably my number one song for all of Dream Theater, is The Spirit Carries On.
Yes.
I'm a very religious person, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. It, told a beautiful message, and the music was incredible. And I was just,
that guitar solo. Oh, I need to make like a top 10 most epic moments in all of Dream Theater, and just that would be like number one. So good. That resolve that it does on the guitar.
Good stuff.
I do have a little bit of a hot take, though. I think is a hot take. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But there are a couple things that I like and I don't like. The number one thing I do like is something that you mentioned, Anthony, is concept albums, because it combines my two favorite things. It combines narrative and it combines music. But I dislike complexity for the sake of being complex. Complexity for complexity's sake. So for me, The Dance of Eternity is not a bad song, but it's certainly not the best on Scenes from a Memory. I find it more just kind of a technical, showboating or virtuosic grandstanding song. And it's really cool to listen to, but I don't know. I feel like the best songs or solos aren't about speed or technical complexity, while that can add flavor. There are definitely some songs in here where like, oh, I really like that crazy, virtuosic stuff that's going on, but too much can be overwhelming and can make a dish unpalatable, right? Just like a touch of spice can elevate the flavor of a dish. I feel like too much can be overwhelming and just make the dish unpalatable.
As you can see, Austin is a chef as well.
I love food.
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that one too. It's one of those songs where it's like, dang, how many hands does that guy have, and how many fingers on each hand? So like it's very impressive, but it is my least standout song on the album. First of all, for one thing, just driving home the idea of how much I appreciate a narrative, like a concept album. There isn't one to that song, or at least none that has really any structure. And so and there's no lyrics. It's just crazy technical skill, and I kind of zone out in songs like that. So good song, but I tend to prefer the stuff that feels like it's kind of pushing the story.
I just feel like with this crazy, just all over the place style of music, like I enjoyed the ragtime bit. I enjoy a lot of it. It's just
that part is fun.
It is. It's fun. I like it when there's a little more precision to the melodic usage. I guess every note of for example, in The Spirit Carries On, every note in that guitar solo serves a purpose, right? With the Dance of Eternity, it's a fun, chaotic romp. I guess you could say it's systematically chaotic, right? But I don't know. It's about the feel of the music, and that one just felt like a really fun, like show off, flashy song for them. That's all it really did for me. But
yep, same.
I also really enjoy sequencing in music. So when a song can blend so beautifully into the next song, and they just nailed it, not only in this album, but across albums. So we get a sequencing between Scenes from a Memory into 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, and then from 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence into Train of Thought, and then from Train of Thought into Octavarium. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did not.
Yeah.
So because for me, it the album ends and then I have to find the next one.
But that's fair. But you'll notice when you're listening to the end of Scenes from a Memory, where it has that like static after the what's that with the needle. That's after it gets knocked off the phonograph, right?
I think so.
So he's listening to a phonograph. Nicholas is listening to a phonograph at the very end. It gets knocked off, after, spoiler alert, what happens in the end of Finally Free. And you hear this static sound, and that's how 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence opens with, I think it's the glass prison. I have to double check.
Really?
Yeah. And then the end of 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence ends with, I don't know, some chord, some note that I think Train of Thought enters with. Yeah, it's the same chord. I just pulled up As I Am. And then the end of Train of Thought, it just hits a really low note at the very end of it in the name of God. And then it goes into the Octavarium. Anyway, it's really cool. That whole
I'm going to have to line them all up in a single playlist and check that out.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But anyway, just another little tidbit of information for those who are unfamiliar with it. But the next song, or the next album rather, that we're going to jump into was 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. So this one is interesting. I again, this is one of those albums where it's not really a story type of concept album, but it is a concept album in that it covers a lot of themes and topics around
mental health, right?
Mental health, at least for 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. But the first 5 songs cover other areas of like struggles that people have. So the glass prison is like this theme of, a lifetime struggle with alcoholism. So this is the first song out of the 12-step suite that Mike Portnoy headed, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the glass prison. Blind faith is this theme of a lifetime struggle with the loss of faith. The misunderstood is a lifetime struggle with self-isolation. The great debate is a theme of the struggle with the sanctity of life. And then you have disappear, which is this theme of the struggle with death. And then you get into 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, which is such a beautiful, I want to say it's a song. A lot of people like to say it's separate. They separate track 1, Overture, About to Crash, War Inside My Head. To me, it's a 42-minute song.
And didn't you say that it was almost originally considered to be released that way, but then they decided to break it up?
Yeah, no, it is. It was. And then they decided
Wait. How many minutes did you say the song is?
I'm pretty sure it's like 42.
42?
Yeah, 42 minutes.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yes, exactly. That's why this is a top tier for me. Okay, probably not S tier, probably an A tier, but it's up there, man. I love a lot of the songs.
Yeah, I'll jump in with that too. I was going to throw out an A tier as well on this one. I think one of the things I found fun about it kind of stands out more in my brain because even though it's not necessarily tied to a narrative, the next thing that I really enjoy is a song that explores, some sort of societal issue in a very thoughtful and like even way. Well, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but basically they're not like getting preachy about one stance or another. They just actually pose the questions and then make really good points and then kind of leave it up to you to come to conclusions. And like the Great Debate, for example. And that's actually kind of touching on a subject that I have a particular interest in. So it's, talking about the idea of stem cell research.
Yeah. Yep.
And in a lot of ways, the debate has definitely moved on from, the early aughts when this song, originally released. Don't get me started there because, so I'm actually, I want to go into stem cell research I'm a biomedical engineer by trade. So that's stuff that I find exciting. Yeah. And the nice thing is we don't have to use embryonic stem cells anymore. You don't have to, there's no harvesting embryos. In fact, you can just take skin biopsies and make stem cells out of the person's own skin cells. So
wow.
Very different debate in,
now,
like 20 something years later. Yeah. So yes, just a little, nerdy, a different kind of nerdy.
Hey, that's why we're here. Yeah.
We are simply nerdy.
Yep.
But anyway, focusing on the song, I like how it just feels like a really cool way to represent both sides of the debate. Like they have, I assume to be legitimate voice clips from people who were really debating these subjects at the time, like, news anchors and pundits and things like that. And, like each side makes some very interesting points, and then they just kind of add some pretty compelling music to go with it to kind of sell this sense of discord, but of a kind that needs to be resolved by continuing discourse.
Yes.
And I don't know, like this whole album, it just feels intellectually deep, and I really like that about this one.
Yep, I would agree. I think that it's great when a band can cover topics that are somewhat sensitive, but they do so in, and again, I'm going to use this phrase, in a tasteful way, in a way that doesn't come off as preachy, but helps a person kind of consider things that they may have never thought before. Like the entire 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence suite, you have them covering things like PTSD or postpartum depression or bipolar schizophrenia, different things like that kind of open your mind a little bit and give you a little perspective. And I think that's really cool. I think they're going to do the same with Parasomnia once that comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I really like when they just have that that intellectual complexity that just, I don't know, it adds a lot for me.
Yeah.
I was going to say just that, even the addressing of subjects that people tend to find or tend to shy away from because they don't understand it, like mental health is one of the biggest things. And I think open dialogue is one of the only ways we're going to, kind of solve the mental health crisis that, we kind of experience, and it becomes more and more obvious with, as time passes. And so I think this album was ahead of its time in that regard too.
Yeah, I'd also want to say that probably my two favorite songs from that whole section, and they're all good. I have them all rated as 5 stars, from Overture to Losing Time, Grand Finale. But I think my two favorites have to be Goodnight Kiss and Solitary Shell.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to recommend a couple songs for someone to listen to, it would be those two. And the Overture too is really cool. Brings in some of the themes, but it's so epic. It almost has this like magical Disney feel to it with the orchestrations, and I don't know. It makes me feel like I'm in a ride at Disneyland. It's really cool. So the next one on the list is
now it's time to
Thought.
Wreck my train of thought. Not take time. This is F tier for me.
Oh boy, let's get into this. All right. So why is this F tier for you?
Okay. So I'll just rewind a little bit by saying that my first experience with progressive rock, so it was actually not many years ago. I was always under the impression that it was too all over the map for me to really get into it. But I've since realized that, counter to what I thought before, it is actually kind of the different disparate styles that they're kind of stitching together with a connecting thread that makes it feel interesting. I call it musical storytelling.
Yeah.
Because, you can't tell a story with a single kind of music. You need music that goes with the sad moments and the happy moments and the intense moments and the triumphant ones, and so Prog is uniquely equipped to deliver that kind of experience musically, right? And I feel like Train of Thought is the most one-trick pony album they have. It's just one sound the whole time, and it's not a sound I enjoy. It's very, I'm not even sure I'm using the right terms here, but very grungy, very emo. Even in its thematics, like one song that just really bothers me, and I know honestly I invite debate here because it's a great debate that you heard there.
Hey.
But for me, so probably my least favorite song on the album is In the Name of God.
Do the gasp.
For me, the reason why I can acknowledge, even the very first time I listened to the song, I'm getting the sense, and you have to consider again that I'm coming at this from, a very religious background, but I'm getting, even from the very first time I listened to it, I was like, I'm getting the sense that this is supposed to be designed as a rebuke or, like a condemnation of religious fanatics, people who, justify the horrible things they do in the name of religion, and like it's part of their dogma. And I think that I'm going to be very clear. Those people deserve to be condemned. Like, they're honestly, in my opinion, the most wicked kind of person is the one who says that God told them to do the evil things they're doing.
Yeah.
And I believe that, the way God is with someone is if they're doing good things and, like things
that know them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So on paper, I agree with the message of the song, but in terms of how they deliver it, I don't enjoy it. I feel like the song spends too much time. Basically, it feels like it fails to differentiate between religion in general and the religious fanatics. And the entire song just feels like it's a condemnation of just religion in general. And I take exception with that because I know, there's a lot of religious people in the world. And if religion was just genuinely bad, then this place would be a whole lot worse than it is in my personal opinion. So anyway, I can acknowledge that in some ways, some might say, well, you're deliberately, misinterpreting the song. But for me, on a hot button subject like that, I need your stance to be abundantly clear. If I have to dig for your message, then you've already failed, because on a hot button issue like this, especially for, say it's an impressionable youth, like they're probably not going to do the homework. They're going to be like, yeah, religion is all bad. And then they just move on.
That's fair.
Make your own decisions. If you decide that all religion is bad, that's up to you. Go ahead. But when you're making an argument, if your argument is unclear, then you have failed. That's my sense. Anyway,
that's fair. And I can't necessarily disagree with the premise that it was a little unclear, because when I first listened to the song, I was turned off because for a similar reason. As someone who is religious, I listened to it and I was like, this just comes off as being very, very much a slap in the face to religion, to faith. And honestly, I had to listen to this one quite a few times. My experience with this one's a little different than Anthony's, so I'll go ahead and share this for some of you who are starting to want to crucify us in the comment section. But I don't know. I
was just going to say it's an appropriate term to use considering the
topic. Yeah. This song is actually starting to grow on me musically anyway. I not so much at the topic or the thesis that it's sharing, but some of the style that it has in it is like a cross of Home and Octavarium. There's a really cool groovy bit that Myung does with the bass around like 8:36 for people who want the timestamp. And there's like a really cool harmonized guitar solo tapping bit where it's like has a higher part. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it other than sound effects. But the lyrics are intriguing. John Petrucci, who wrote it, says that it deals with terrible people who kill for religion in the name of God, as the title clearly indicates. But he poses this question of why would they do such things for religions that supposedly advocate for peace? It critiques religious extremism. Obviously, Anthony agrees, but
I do.
But it's not clear, and I think that's your point. That's your point, is that it's not clear from the song, and I would agree. I think that it took me a lot of looking at the lyrics and making sure I'm understanding really what they're getting at here, because the entire theme of this song, it's asking us whether it's possible to have religious faith without using violence to impose it on others. And most believers are peaceful, I would argue. Every religion has had its violent fanatics, even Christians. That's one of the things that it mentions in the lyrics. It says passion twisting faith into violence, and also committed under the guise of faith. It's not really God telling you to do so. So it's particularly targeting these, cult leaders or radical movements that manipulate believers for their own gain. I think that Petrucci is offering a valid question. The problem becomes, for the viewers, is the song a slap in the face to religion, or is it an honest reflection on its complexities, acknowledging both its power to inspire people and its potential for misuse? Sometimes when I look at the ending where it has the minor key, or it's playing the Battle Hymn of the Republic in minor, I feel like it's the former. I feel like it's a jab at religious devotion in general.
Yeah, it walks a line, and personally, what I will say is I believe they were trying to sell the message of this is something you need to be careful about. If you use religion as an excuse, then you've failed, and it has failed you. Like, that's not the point at all. The idea of religion is to try and aspire to be something better, and that does not ever involve murdering people. Like let's be clear, okay? So people have done it wrong all the time. But I don't know. And again, musically, I don't know. Maybe if I go back and I listen to it some more, and I listen to an instrumental version, I can come to appreciate the music itself better. But I think, and I'm pretty sure this is Dream Theater that I'm thinking of. I feel like they do a better job of the same message later on. Isn't Sacrifice Sons a Dream Theater song?
It is. Yep.
That one does exactly what I think this song was trying to do, but much better.
Yeah.
Much better. So anyway, train of thought, I don't know. It was too edgy for me overall. Even if you were to take out the religious discussion that we've just had, it's really edgy, really emo, and there's not a whole lot of variety to the musical style. And then just inserting the religious topic again a little bit more, I feel like it was almost the point of the entire album to kind of raise some troubling questions that seemed a little pointed. That's all. That's for me. And there's explicit songs. That's what I was
going to say. That's when it kind of drops it up a few points for me, because I'm someone who just likes to have cleaner music, and so I will create clean edits of songs so that I don't have to hear all the explicit stuff. And so, as I Am, as an example, I had to edit that one. Honor Thy Father. I do not like Honor Thy Father, but I have an edited version of it. But it's just those few songs, As I Am is okay. I do like the chorus and the melody that has in it. I do appreciate This Dying Soul as it's part of the 12-step suite.
I think that's one of the few that I was less irritated.
Well, my two favorite songs on this album are actually Vacant and Stream of Consciousness, because those two kind of start to delve out of that harsh feel, and it does more of this melancholic and somber feel. But then I think Stream of Consciousness almost shares that same theme. It builds on that mood, and it develops that same harmonic idea or motifs into a greater instrumental piece. And it's a great instrumental. It's very proggy, a lot of cool syncopated rhythms. There's a really cool high string bit that I like, where it's like then I don't know, but it's very reminiscent of some classic John Williams or Hans Zimmer maybe. But all around, for me, this album is got to be really low. Probably,
I'm giving it that.
He's giving it an F.
It's because of. Okay, sorry, I lost the comedic timing, but I was going to say it gets an F-bomb from me.
So, after Train of Thought comes Octavarium. This one is also one of my personal favorites. I don't know how to describe it. Like, this one was just so intricately designed, this whole album, but especially the title track, the beautiful, perfect epic. This is one of those tracks where I've mentioned in other videos what a perfect epic is. This is one that would fall into that category. Yeah. What are some of your thoughts on Octavarium?
Yeah, I actually, this is probably an easy A tier for me, at least. I didn't feel that way the first time I listened to it, but I think that was also when I was kind of still learning to understand what I liked about prog. But it's got all of those elements that I want from a good prog song. I feel like probably my two favorite songs on here are Panic Attack. I feel like that song does an excellent job of musically conveying the feel of, a person who deals with that. And I don't know, I always feel like there's a significant value in forms of art that can get a person who does not understand the experience of another person to suddenly realize, oh, is that kind of an illustration of what it's like? I always find those especially magical. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I thought, I really liked that one. And then I already called out Sacrifice Sons. Like I said already, it kind of poses a similar question to In the Name of God. But musically, I found it a lot more appealing. And, I feel like the questions were a little less, a little less pointed and a little bit more sincere. Like, what the way I interpret the song is like, it's asking the question of, is all of these causes, religious or otherwise, that you're sacrificing your sons to, like in war or whatever else, like, is it worth the cost, kind of thing. So like, I really just this whole album, there's a lot of really delicious complexity in there, and I don't know, I really enjoy.
Yeah, I had to go back and see on the track listing because I believe it has something to do with the events of 9/11, and it says that it has authentic news samples from the original coverage of the destruction of the Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, this album is just so well done. I love Never Enough because it sounds like Muse.
I love Muse.
Yeah, Muse is great. So here's the thing. I would recommend Octavarium to people just because the album is so, like you said, it's intellectually deep, but not just on the themes and the topics that it covers, but also from a music theory standpoint, where it does things like the very first song starts on, the tonic, or the, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. It starts on do. And then each song after that increments on that scale. It goes down the scale, or up the scale, I should say, to an octave, where Octavarium ends on the same key signature that Root of All Evil starts in, but an octave higher. Not only that, but if I'm remembering right, in Octavarium, there are snippets of each of the songs. Root of All Evil, Answer Lies Within. When James is singing, what does he say? Our deadly sins fill his mortal wrath. Remove all obstacles from our path. That's when Mike Portnoy says root. So the root note is root of all evil. And then James Labrie he's talking. He's not really singing, but he's saying, asking questions, search for clues. The answer's been right in front of you. That's the answer lies within, right? So these are all references to those songs. And he goes on, saying, try to break, long to connect, fall on deaf ears with failed muted breath. That's these walls, so on and so forth, all the way to Sacrifice Sons, where he says, innocent victims of merciless crimes fall prey to some madmen's impulsive designs, and then step after step. It just goes higher and higher. It's where he does this screaming, trapped inside this Octavarium. Like, that part to me is just like, oh, it's powerful. Some people it may not be for everyone, but James' scream singing at that part just, Anyway, Octavarium is fantastic. I say it probably should belong right under 6 degrees. Would you think it's better than? Because I would agree that it's an A at least, but I don't know if I'd put it above 6 degrees for me. But there may be some songs. I know you're not a huge fan of the cow screeching songs at the end of Misunderstood, for example.
I've apparently already blocked it out of my mind. So
I remember you'd said that there's like this 2-minute segment at the end of Misunderstood, which I actually really love. Misunderstood.
Would you say that I just misunderstood?
You just misunderstood. Well done. Well, you get a clap for that one. As good as Octavarium is, like, the song that I really go back to, like, I really do like The Answer Lies Within These Walls, I Walk Beside You. Beautiful messages. Root of All Evil is another song that covers part of the 12-step suite, but the one song I'd always go back to is just Octavarium. But 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, like, when I start listening to that 42-minute song, I can't stop. I'd have to listen to the whole thing, and I'm not skipping it at all.
Yeah, I don't have any strong opinions either way, so I say that's just fine with me.
Sweet. Okay, well, next is Systematic Chaos. I'm going to be honest. This one had to grow on me, and I've been honest. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that because I've been lying to you guys this whole time.
Lying to you.
But Systematic Chaos is one that had to grow on me a little more. when I first listened to that, I almost had a little bit more of that shock factor that I think Anthony was experiencing listening to Train of Thought, where I was just like, this one just sounds really dark and emo and grungy, harsh. It has some real solid bangers. Like it has Forsaken, Constant Motion. I really like those ones. Prophets of War, which is another one that reminds me of Muse. That's very, very reminiscent of Muse's style. Yeah. And The Ministry of Lost Souls, that's probably my number one song on this album.
Yeah, this one was one that I definitely had to grow on me as well. I remember the first time I listened to it, I was pretty unimpressed. And I think probably for, again, a similar reason to Train of Thought, not to anywhere near the same degree, but I feel like I would probably describe this one as not very thematically varied either. And it definitely is kind of a darker tone, both in terms of music and in terms of message. But I think the thing that I liked more about this one is that it felt a little bit more cautionary than, like making a statement. Like one of the songs that was, kind of starting to turn me off a little bit. I think is it the
Dark Eternal
might be the Dark Eternal Night, where it's like Dark Master, whatever. And I was like, what, is this kind of telling a story, or is this making a statement kind of thing? And in the end, I came to the conclusion that it was the former, because I think near the end of the album, he kind of comes to the place where he basically like casts off his Dark Master or something like that. There's a line in there somewhere where he kind of almost comes to himself kind of thing.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
From In the Presence of Enemies. That
part 2. Yeah, I think so. This was actually one of the more, from what I remember, kind of really fun to listen to. Like there was a lot of really intense riffs from what I recall. And those of you who have watched our channel enough already know that I'm, a huge video game music fan. And so I sat through a lot of this album being like, oh, this would be a good battle theme. Ooh, this one too. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I can see that.
So it definitely, I've come to enjoy this one a lot more. It's definitely, I probably wouldn't put it above a B tier, but I
was thinking the same. I don't know. There are a lot of songs on here that I'm like, skippable for me. In the Presence of Enemies, part 1, and part 2 is a little better than part 1, but Repentance, here's the thing with Repentance. Like, I appreciate it, again, that it's part of the 12-step suite. It's the 4th song, or a 4th segment of the 12-step suite. But it, I don't know, like, it's a little boring. I also appreciated that it had a lot of I don't know if you'd call it cameos, but guests that were featured in Repentance from different bands, so many different bands, including one of my favorites, Neil Morse. I just thought that's pretty cool, but honestly, the song itself is a little boring. I appreciate the message and everything, but there's only a handful of songs that I really go to on this one. So,
yeah, there's, I mean, just looking through the list, there's none that jump out and like, ooh, I got to listen to that song right now, kind of thing. It's good.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna put it below Awake. I think there are more songs that I'd be willing to go back to listen to in Awake than I would in Systematic Chaos. But that's just me. So,
okay.
Righty.
They have so many albums.
No, we're only like, what are we, just over halfway through now? Yeah. Six more albums, not including Parasomnia, because that comes out this week. Actually, it'll probably be out by the time this video releases, so we'll have to do a separate video where we review that, possibly. That'd be fun. So the next album is Black Clouds and Silver Linings. Yeah, this album's pretty good. It's like, I remember liking Nightmare to Remember just because of the like storytelling, the little narrative that it has going on.
Mm-hmm.
Rite of Passage has some cool melodies, some cool riffs, but again, that was kind of like, yeah, sure. But Wither, everything from like Wither to Count of Tuscany were like some of my favorites. Shattered Fortress, Best of Times. Oh my gosh. I think I was telling you the other day, Anthony, I was listening to the Best of Times. I was just at the gym and I was listening to, I don't remember. I think it's the section where he says, most of all, thank you for my life. And I was just like at the gym, but I'm like holding back from like having tears, and I'm just like, I can't cry at the gym. What the heck? But it was
Look at that bro over there. He's tearing up.
everyone's like, what's going on with that guy? I'm just listening to Dream Theater, okay? But very moving, very beautiful song. Like props to Mike Portnoy and his writing there.
So I musically I really enjoyed a lot of the songs up to the Count of Tuscany, but apparently, so I have got the special edition in Apple Music, and it was I don't know if Stargazer is when the bonus tracks start.
So the last song on the actual album is The Count of Tuscany.
Okay, so I think I didn't wear. Yeah, so all the rest kind of feel like more just we put these songs in to be, because it's fun and look, we can play music kind of thing. And I remember I was messaging Austin. I was like, what just happened? The music just like took a nosedive. What am I listening to? The Tenement Funster. It sounds as dumb as it sounds.
I had no idea. I was like, what is that song? Are you sure you're listening to Dream Theater? Because I have not listened to any of the bonus songs.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So first half, the non-special edition tracks, those were all really good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed them. I thought it was fun musically.
Yeah, I think Wither for me is one of my favorite ballads that they've done. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's bumped up. And same with Best of Times is just so good. So many good parts there. Count of Tuscany is a fun one. I had forgotten that one was... so that's based on a true story, actually, for John Petrucci. And I think some of the band members or like a tech member, they were like visiting an estate and they were spooked out and thought they'd end up dying there from somebody that was like giving them a tour. It's like, oh, so funny. But it's a decent song. It's not my favorite on the album, but it's a good epic. So I think it definitely would need to fall in either a B or a C.
I'd probably say B myself.
Yeah, I think it's a step above Awake and Systematic Chaos. So
yeah,
all right.
Works for me.
All right. So that is the end of Portnoy. Well, his first era, as we are now beginning his second era. And we have Mangini joining as the drummer for a dramatic turn of events. Now, I'm not going to get into any of the Portnoy's better than Mangini or Mangini's better than Portnoy debate. Like that's, I'm one of those Dream Theater fans who just enjoys Dream Theater for what it is. Yes, they're going to have some differences, but I feel like there are still some solid, they can put out some solid music, and I enjoy some of the albums that Mangini's done more than some of the ones that Portnoy was in. So a dramatic turn of events grew on me. I listened to this one somewhat more recently, and I'd have to say I really liked a lot of the parts in Lost, Not Forgotten. It just has a really epic buildup. It has a part where there's timpani playing in it, and I thought that was really cool. How often do you hear timpani in, progressive rock music or any music for that matter that's not classical? This is the Life I remember liking. Bridges in the Sky, even with the like Mongolian chant stuff that it has going on. Kind of,
that's right.
It's kind of different at first, but the melody and everything in that song I really like.
That one definitely turned me off the first time I listened to it. But more recently, when I was listening to that song, I was like, all right, just try to understand the story they're telling, and it actually ended up working for me. Like, and most of the middle, so it starts off with the Mongolian chant and then kind of goes into a little bit more standard Dream Theater style, and then ends with it. And so it kind of bookends it, but in a way that I think added to the story. And I was able to appreciate the musical storytelling a lot better.
Yeah.
Had to comment though, the first time I heard the guy, whoa, and I was like, why are we having a song about burping on here?
That's pretty funny though. I really also like Beneath the Surface. The one thing I didn't like about Beneath the Surface when I first listened to it is the whole sound like you're in a toilet, in the bathroom, and it has that like drip drop sound effect. I don't know. It just
Harmony
felt
much.
it just felt kind of weird, like a leaky faucet going on in the song, you know.
Mhm.
But this album for me didn't really stand out as like one of the greatest, but it's not bad by any means.
I remember enjoying it well enough, but at the same time, I think I kind of remember it also being, in my head at least, a little less thematically varied and musically varied than I had kind of liked from some of the albums I enjoyed more.
Yeah.
I think this one probably, well, maybe a high C tier. I don't know. Where were you at?
Yeah, I'd actually say either a B or a C, like probably above these
Awake.
guys here.
Yeah. I think I could agree with that.
Well, I'm glad we're in agreement. That was easy. All right, but the next one, this one might be a little harder, maybe.
Yeah, I think we're a little less aligned on this one.
So this album is Dream Theater, the Dream Theater album by Dream Theater, and for me, the whole first half, with the exception of the False Awakening suite, the intro song, the whole first half was just kind of a letdown. To me, it didn't feel it lost some of that creative flavor, you know, that pizzazz that Dream Theater has. It just felt like a very safe album. But everything from the latter half, so from like Behind the Veil to Illumination Theory, I really enjoyed. Like those were ranked 4 and 5 stars for me. Illumination Theory especially, that one sounds a lot like 6 Degrees from Inner Turbulence and Octavarium, so I really like that one. And it wasn't until you had mentioned Along for the Ride that I had to go back and re-listen to that one. I'm like, oh yeah, this one is really good. It's a beautiful ballad.
A lot of really good message. Yeah, religious overtones again, which is something that I always find positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I guess maybe we're less misaligned than I was originally thinking. I think I would agree that probably most of my favorites come from the latter half as well. Although False Awakening Suite is just plain hype for me. Like it's just really bombastic and exciting. And then The Enemy Inside actually is one I also really like. It feels like a cautionary message about the bad tendencies inside of us and kind of warning about that. And then also I don't know, I took it as like I think one of the lines is beware the enemy inside, like basically get rid of your lesser self. And I don't know, so that's something I connected with. And then I think the other two of my favorites were Along for the Ride. That one really stood out. I really enjoyed that one, both thematically and musically. And then Illumination Theory is just a really good finale.
Yeah, solid epic on that one. Yeah.
So for me, I would probably say this is at least B tier.
I would say C, but we already have 3 in C, so maybe
I
put it on the bottom. I see. What will it be?
To be or
There you go. That's even better. To be or not to be. Yeah, let's leave it at the bottom of B for now.
Yeah, that works for me. Okay, I want to jump in introducing the next one. So
please do.
The Astonishing is, for me at least, another solid S tier.
What? Hot take much?
Apparently, this Austin over here has been telling me that this is one of the lesser popular ones, and it was one of the, honestly, when I was first listening to Dream Theater, when I was still trying to figure out what I thought of their sound and like their various styles, this was the album that made me realize, no, actually, I think I really like this stuff, and there's a lot of reasons for it. I think it checks a lot of my musical boxes. First of all, it's very narrative driven. Like, in fact, it's probably the most narrative driven album in their entire discography. And tells like this interesting, kind of really unique future dystopian kind of story about a society that has been taken over by some sort of evil emperor who robbed them of music, right? Mm-hmm. And replaced it with these machines that would float around and basically just make noise. It doesn't sound very threatening on paper, but if you think about the oppressive nature of living in a society where you can't listen to music, which is something that would drive me insane, and then having it be replaced with all of these discordant noises, that would be very dystopian. Like there's a lot of like mental torture kind of stuff going on there. Anyway,
Yeah.
but just tells a story about this guy who he has like this gift of music. He's really good at singing. Apparently has a vaguely magical voice or something. Like he can, I guess, heal people. Maybe
We really get the evidence of that when he restores the life of Faith
right at the end. Yep,
at the end.
exactly.
So
Yeah, so there's some sort of magical quality to his voice, but anyway, it just tells the story of this revolution that's kind of spinning up around this person, and the intrigue that follows is the evil emperor tries to basically do him in, and there's betrayal and all that stuff like that, and so it's not necessarily the I mean it's not like novel material necessarily, but I feel like the way that they used the music to tell a lot of the different elements of the story was just checked my boxes really nicely. That it's probably, in my opinion, the most musically and thematically varied of all of their albums. Like there's it ranges from hard rock to basically pure symphonic, classical, and basically everything in between. And
even having a hymn, like a song in the style of a hymn.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So I really connected with all of the musical storytelling they were doing, and it became a lot more meaningful to me when I had more of the narrative context as well, because they kind of let you figure it out as you go. It's almost like a stage play of sorts. Like the most recent time that I listened to this, I was imagining it as like, what if they actually did a stage play for this? And I was like, that would be so epic. I even came to appreciate the Nomak tracks. The first time I listened to it, I was, the first time it was like, oh, what is this? Why did they feel the need to?
Here's my thing with the Nomax is I understand that it's important for the narrative, but when I listen through the album, they're just skippable. But I feel like what they could have done is incorporated some of the like whole noise machine sound effects maybe in a more clever way, like within the songs themselves. And I think they do kind of do that at one point in one of the songs, and I don't remember which. I was just like, they needed to not have a separate track where it's just a bunch of weird machinery noises, but rather incorporate that as like part of the prog and start doing some fun rhythms in the themes of the song or something.
Musically, I will agree with you. I mean, they're not necessarily pleasant to listen to. Like if one of those songs came on in a randomized, playlist, I would absolutely skip them.
Yeah.
Like, wow, okay, next. But in the context of the narrative, I feel like it actually is an important part of the contrast. Like basically, what each of those quote unquote songs are doing is providing a contrast between the inspiration that Gabriel is providing to the people in this their horrible circumstances, and then juxtaposed with the oppression of the emperor as characterized by the Nomax. And so for me, the most recent time I listened to it, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is inserted at a really crucial point in the story to just really sell this idea of oppression, and kind of helps you want it to be resolved, because you're sitting there thinking like, yes, this is oppressive. And so musically, I wouldn't want to listen to it in a vacuum, but as part of the narrative, I was like, wow, this is really selling a message. It's connecting me more with the story.
And I think that was the whole point. And to their credit, they did do well to make me not like the noise machines and feel like, man, this would really suck to live in this dystopian society. So, but here's my thing with the Astonishing. It's definitely way higher than a lot of Dream Theater fans would rank this album. Like some people think it's S tier, and I think it's great. I don't think it is. Let me put it this way. I don't think the Astonishing is overrated. I think it's overhated. I think there's a lot of people who...
That was pithy.
Pithy.
Turn a phrase. Anyway.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of people who hate on it for the reasons that I actually enjoy it. Just like you were saying, the whole musical aspect, I love musicals. And so this really brought an aspect that said, yeah, if I were to hear the name Dream Theater, this is what I would imagine,
Theater.
Theater,
What's
theater
that
production.
in Dream Theater?
Yeah, absolutely. And same with Scenes from a Memory, like that. It's just concept albums in general just are something else. Like, it's so good. But this album is not without its faults. I do think it gets way more flack than it deserves, but I get that some people complain that it's really cheesy. Some of the songs are short. I get that some people say it's a copy of Rush's 2112 with the whole dystopian society where they're getting rid of music or whatever, but that doesn't bother me.
Hasn't it all been done before? Why do we always have to revisit this conversation?
I know.
I don't
I think you've made some great points about that as well, where it's like, well, maybe they were inspired. It's not they're copying it. It's just similar. And anyway, we won't get too far into that rabbit hole, but there are some parts to this where I was like, yeah, that was a little weird. That was a bit cheesy, or that could have been done a little better. For example, Gabriel, who's the protagonist, savior, hero person, there's a bit in the album where he is so distraught by, spoiler alert for everyone, distraught by the death of Faith, that he screams, and this voice-destroying scream, literally, like it ruins his voice in the story. But the scream that James Labrie does is a little underwhelming. Do you know who Sean Schemmel is? He's a Goku voice actor.
Oh.
So
okay.
I expected this like epic Goku voice actor Super Saiyan style scream. And instead, we just kind of got this, and I was like, oh, okay.
You just pass along there, buddy.
I love everything from The Gift of Music down to even 3 Days, and The Gift of Music has a really great theme. I love all of the leitmotifs that they bring in for, Faith and Gabriel and his brother. Even Lord Nefarious has his own, leitmotifs going on. And then you have Brother Can You Hear Me, which just sets up this beautiful motif for the ending when they sing People Can You Hear Us, Peace Has Been Restored, and so on. It's like taking that same Brother Can You Hear Me theme.
Well, and like there's another kind of clever application of that theme too. I'm pretty sure in one of the songs where Commander Aris, however you say his name,
Ares
is considering betraying Gabriel. There's a moment in that song when it plays Brother Can You Hear Me, but it's like, it's a contrast. Really clever.
Yeah, it's a real cool dichotomy. Like they take that same theme, but then it ends in minor. And there's some really cool moments in this. Man, one of the parts that like nearly brings me to tears every time is, I think it's that one that you're referring to. It does the Brother Can You Hear Me motif, but it like has bagpipes, and then it ends in minor. And I think it's the X aspect. I think he's thinking about his son and whether or not he wants to betray Gabriel or, risk losing his son. Beautiful use of leitmotifs. And Our New World, which there's also a version of this song where Lizzie Hale sings with James, and that version is really cool too. From Hailstorm, if you're not familiar, it's Lizzie Hale. I'm trying to think of what else. There's so many bits to this that I could go on and on with the Astonishing. But regardless of your viewpoints with the Astonishing, because I know there's a lot of fans who are very, very divided about this, you got to give props to Dream Theater for just being bold and doing something new.
Yeah.
Fans of Dream Theater are going to like what they're going to like. And so, I don't know. Again, it goes back to what we said in the beginning, where the degrees of opinions are going to vary at a level that's commensurate with the degree of musical variance that Dream Theater gives. So
you could say there's 6 degrees of inner fan turbulence.
Hey, there you go.
That's all right. Thanks. Sometimes I say clever things. So for me, I'll put it this way: it's S tier for me, but I will settle for high A tier.
How about under 6 degrees of inner turbulence?
Okay, fine.
Is that okay?
Just beat you up later.
I don't know. Like 6 degrees is just so good. It's hard to justify putting Astonishing above that.
Well, I personally find that astonishing, but okay.
So the second to last one that we are going to rank is Distance Over Time. And this one, I actually did like this one, but not as much as some others. So it's kind of a mid album for me. I'm just going to throw this out there. Barstool Warrior is the best song on the album. Here's the thing. Some of the songs felt not like repetitive, but just I did not like some of the like intro melodies. Like you had Fall Into the Light, which is dun-dun-dun, 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 ba-dum. And it like, I don't know, it does that the whole time. And then Room 137 is like dun 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 dun. It just, and then his singing on that one, dun dun, ba ba bum ba bum. I don't know. For me, it wasn't my favorite. I don't know what else to say about it, but I like.
I feel like. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I like Pale Blue Dot, and I like Barstool Warrior, and Paralyzed. Paralyzed is probably another one of my favorites on the album.
I feel like I walked away from this album not having super strong opinions. I feel like the way I remembered it, it was like the music was enjoyable enough. I didn't hate any of the songs. It was it's like, oh yeah, this is a pretty cool beat, and this one too. But most of the songs I just kind of listened like, oh, it's a new song now. Like they all kind of felt similar to me.
Yeah, it's another one of those samey ones.
Yeah.
Signal to Noise was pretty good. S2N.
Oh, okay,
at wit's end. Yeah, they say the phrase somewhere in the song, Signal to Noise. But
well, as you can see, I missed that too. But
oh, one thing I wanted to mention: if you listen to the intro of Signal to Noise, does that remind you of City Escape in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle? Because to me,
have to go listen.
Yeah, you have to go listen to it right now because it totally reminds me of City Escape.
Signal to Noise. All right, I'm going to mute myself for a second and go listen to that real quick.
Yeah. Maybe it's just the way that bass is like slapping.
No, it's definitely, I can totally see it.
Yeah.
Like that starter, my brain immediately imagined Sonic on a snowboard going down a steep street. Yeah.
Right? Anyway, that was just a little fun bit. Again, that's the gamer nerd in me.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love it. So this album for me, probably just C.
Yeah.
Or D. I don't know. Like, where would I rank this in terms of some of the other albums? Like, I would probably listen to these ones over this. So it'd either be a D for me or like the bottom of C. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of almost all the albums, this one, though it was fun, was probably one of the ones that I just noticed the least in my head, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't really stand out in one way or another. I could live with a D. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it there then. And then last, but certainly not least, is A View from the Top of the World, or we're going to abbreviate it.
Oh, that's right. I said we were going to do that, and then we totally didn't. All right. You see if I can supply this for you. It would be foot.
That's what I said.
You are welcome, dear listeners. We have wasted 10 seconds of your life.
Yes. You'll never get it back. But this one, I remember liking it enough. And I really like a lot of the choruses and songs like Awaken the Master, Invisible Monster, Answering the Call. Sleeping Giant has some classic Jordan ragtime in it, so I appreciate that. Transcending Time is one of the better songs, probably my second favorite in the album. It feels like 6 degrees of inner turbulence. Mm-hmm. Has awesome harmonies and really fun guitar riff, or is it a synth? Maybe it's a guitar. Maybe there's both. I think it at one point does have a synth playing the same thing that the guitar played. And then, of course, the title track is just a great epic.
I'd probably put this one above Distance Over Time.
Okay.
Again, for me, I enjoyed the song was decently well. I didn't get the chance to listen to it as many times as you did. It was just, I guess, mid for me. So maybe I'll defer to you.
I'm going to look back at Dream Theater. So the Dream Theater album we ranked as a B. I think it's going to be up there for me.
Yeah, and I could live with that.
I would want to put it at like here or here, which means even this one could be down here, which doesn't make it bad. Like it has those last few songs, which are really good, but the first half of the album is just kind of meh to me. That's why it's just a C. It's a meh. I'll say for me, but if you really want, I can keep it up here.
Look, it's more symmetric. It's prettier. At this point, we're just being OCD instead of actually reviewing.
I know.
Yeah, I probably would have said a B personally for a view from the top of the world, so I can live with that. So
Okay.
I
Do you
don't.
move Systematic Chaos down, or do you not agree with that? You think it should be a C?
I probably liked it better than a D, but then again, this is all again very relative. So
D.
What does it-
It's over time. So that's the only one that stays there.
the solitary, yeah. I mean, what does it mean to be a D? I don't even know, even after all this time. So I.
The only one that I would probably disagree with is Train of Thought. And that looks really symmetrical. Look at it.
Oh my. Well, I mean, we're working on this together, so.
But here's the thing. Like, I do agree that you have some the points that you made about Train of Thought being like very edgy, grungy, and harsh. It's certainly not a C tier for me. But because it's been growing on me a little more, and I do like this Dying Soul because of the 12-step suite and Vacant and Stream of Consciousness, like those two songs alone, I think, make it so it's not an F for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be dropping F-bombs anyway. Yeah, personally, Train of Thought is below even Wadadu, but I will still acquiesce. Yes.
Okay, well, just take note, everybody. This I think would be Anthony's ranking.
Not necessarily. I don't know. This is good. This is fine.
You'll have to go back and do what I suggested. Listen to maybe some of the songs instrumentally, or at least Vacant, Stream of Consciousness. Those two are worth listening to, I think.
Yeah.
And then maybe listening to the entirety of the 12-step suite back to back. So if you go listen to The Glass Prison, that's the first one, then this Dying Soul, and then The Root of All Evil, and then Repentance from Systematic Chaos, and then The Shattered Fortress from Black Clouds and Silver Linings.
Okay.
So in that order, like, I think it would, you'd really pick up on some of the themes, and yeah, anyway.
Okay. Well, I'm open to having my opinion change.
Challenged maybe for any of you listeners that want to explain why you feel like he's wrong and that Train of Thought should be S tier instead of D or F, then let's hear it.
And then I will spit in your face. About us. Just kidding.
I think everything else looks good, though. I don't think we need to really fudge anything. I think this came together quite nicely.
Yeah, I think this reflects a lot of my. I think this is the pretty solid representation.
Well, and I'm glad that it seemed like for the most part we really agreed on the general feel for a lot of these albums. I am really curious where Parasomnia is gonna land once that releases. So maybe after that releases, we'll have to rearrange this and just say, now that this is done, we're gonna stick it, wherever.
Yeah.
On the oops.
Hey, let's not curse it. Oh no! Look what you've done.
Can you not remove things?
This is not a prediction, people.
This is not a prediction, I swear. Dang it, there's no way to remove it.
You lose.
This is the official, not with this. This is the official tier ranking for Simply Nerdy, at least as far as Anthony and I are concerned.
And we are the experts, of course.
As far as our panel goes.
Experts.
Yes. Maybe we'll get Steve to share his opinion in the future as he's being introduced to Dream Theater some more.
Yeah, we've been trying to convert him.
He said he pre-ordered Parasomnia, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
if he was sold on just one of the more recent videos, which you guys should go check out. If you have not seen it, I did a reaction video of A Broken Man, and then Steve, Anthony, and myself had reacted to Midnight Messiah just in the last week or two. So feel free to click the link up there, or if it's down in the description, wherever it is, go check it out. But for sure, stay tuned, because something's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to do a full album reaction to Parasomnia, or if I'm just going to invite you guys to join me for a quick review. I don't know. But stay tuned. Click the subscribe button so you can be notified when we do release that content. And if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to click like and ring the notification bell so you can be notified again of any material we release in the future, whether it's Simply Nerdy's special progressive metal reviews or something else entirely. Games, books, whatever, we cover the whole gamut. So
If you like nerdy things, you're in the right place.
anything else you want to add as far as the Dream Theater review?
No, I think it's overall, I would say that they're just they're one of the pillars of Prog, is how I'd put it. I think that they have a very they're just very versatile, and there's basically something for everyone. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff. Check them out.
And they are just so incredibly talented. Each one is just a master at their own instrument, and I really appreciate that. I am excited to see them in about a month. We'll be seeing them in Salt Lake. So looking forward to that. Anybody else that's excited, let us know your comments. We'd love to hear it. And I think that's about it. So we'll wrap up there. And until next time,
Keep it nerdy.
nerdy.